want and have a resonance towards truth, and maybe the best way of putting it, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And we have a resonance for that. Did Gandhi say anything about why those who are in power certainly do not abide by that? And as we can see today, there's a conflict going on not far away where an entire nation is being annihilated. How can people who have the power not see and be impassioned by the desire that we all here definitely share? What did Gandhi say about why they choose the path that they choose?
To the extent I understand this matter, I go with Anthony Perel's long introduction to Hind Swaraj, where Anthony Perel explains that we must look at the institution of the state and not the behavior of the individuals who are governing at present in any country in the world. It's the way the institution of the state is structured in modern times. Yes, with democratic bricks and mortar. Nevertheless, the state is worth studying as to why it makes people feel so drunk with power when they get into the state structure and when they have to run it. There's something about the state that gives them that sense of impunity, call it, or a sense of being completely isolated from the reality all around them, which can be very harsh. I think that's the way we have to interpret what we are looking at in some of the countries of the world today, which are bringing us daily news of horror, basically.
Yeah.
That we would like to think that this particular man is very bad, but he's sustained by state's norms and the procedures of the state. This is the classic description of a parliament that Gandhi offered in Hind Swaraj, where people are not fighting with each other because of their beliefs or their arguments. They are fighting with each other because that's the role they are playing. That they are against this ideology or that ideology, and they are using their position in the parliament to promote that, because that's what has brought them into parliament, and so on. And there is a very serious critique of that story. And that is why, from the point of view of Gandhi, I think we must look at how the state perhaps needs very significant reform in its behavior. Why doesn't it accept truth more easily and more early? As a foreigner, I couldn't believe that the post office scandal of England went on for years before it was acknowledged that something would be wrong with a machine supplied by the Japanese company, rather than blame the people who are running those post offices as obviously dishonest people, and they were punished for that. Why did the state take so long? Well, the answer doesn't lie, I think, in the individuals at that time who were responsible. Of course, the Inquiry Commission has held them responsible. But it's the structure that you must defend if you are participating in the state's process. For as long as you can defend, you will. And I have been part of the state machinery for 5 years of my life. I know exactly what that means. And it's true. Thank you.
Yes.
Is this why Panchayati Raj, decentralized administration, is the answer to avoid centralized monopoly of the ruler? We don't need to rule people, we need to run the country and serve the country. I think that's why Gandhiji recommended Panchayati Raj, and that would have avoided the failing of the democracy.
All I can say is perhaps decentralization is better and it facilitates dispersal of power. But it's no panacea. and a sarpanch, that is the head punch of a village council, can be just as cruel as the head of a state. Just as willing to blink in the face of some horror happening in the village, a sarpanch can be just as willing. This was Ambedkar's great fear, that the society, if we hand it over to village councils in a dramatic way and think that that will be better, it will not be better. And that's why this balance between central and decentral kind of ways of handling the state. This is no simple chemical kind of equation, nor is it possible to look at it purely as physics. That if we disperse all power to thousands of little communities, it will be necessarily better. You would still require that ethical framework that we see in Gandhi. How would you predispose a whole generation towards that framework is the educational question we were discussing. Because it's not like a switch. Otherwise, Rajiv Gandhi's idea of handing over so much power to Panchayati Raj in India would have brought a revolution, which was expected like that. But it didn't happen. Yes, things did get better, and to some extent they are better. Improved in some parts of the country, they are better because they are handled at that level. But even Panchayati Raj has not been able to resist everything that is happening to the environment, which is happening to quote-unquote development. Developmentalism is far too aggressive an ideology for any single sarpanch or even a group of panchayats to handle on their own. We have seen that repeatedly, and my former student Malvika Gupta is here, who will tell you this enormous detail about that in the context of several tribal regions of India and tribal regions in the world. That despite power being decentralized, certain things are unstoppable if they are managed in this manner. It's not really an apportioning of blames that we are saying, partly the blame goes to that, and this, and so on and so forth. No, it's a question of how we grasp the matter, which is bigger than any matter that we can individually grasp. Thank you.
I think we might bring the meeting to a close. To allow 5 or 10 minutes for you all to circulate and get to know the speaker. Shall we do that? With consent?
And there's refreshments, I think, Bhikkhu, in the next room.
There's some food.
Definitely there's food.
Well. Every need is satisfied.
As the former student, I have the privilege to.
Before you do that, 2 things. Please, will you sit down?
Oh, sorry.
2 things. First of all, Omar, thank the speaker.
Thank you, Professor Kumar. It was an absolutely enlightening talk in ways which I don't think I had thought about the connection between fiction and truth and how the two can interrelate. It was superb. But I don't want to take too much time because we have an expert on Gandhi here in Professor Bhikkhu, and I'm sure he would sum up far better than I can.
Well, thank you. I'm sure you all agree. Wonderful words. Given very eloquently delivered and consistently arguing a particular issue. So, with those few words, I would rather let you spend more time eating what has been promised and listening to the speaker, talking to him, which is even more interesting. So rather than go on longer, I simply want to thank Professor Kumar for a splendid lecture. Do keep up your interest in Gandhi. We hope you will come again when we hold some meetings or conferences. And Gandhi is never going to leave us, especially when the current climate of violence breaking up in every part of the world in this heinous way. And we get blamed if it is justified. That's exactly what happened in the 1930s. When Einstein and Freud and others wrote an open letter to our fellow intellectuals. Please, find a way out of this violence. And Gandhi became quite important. And of all his ideas, truth, courage, non-violence was picked up as central. Because that was supposed to be addressing the crisis of the time. So thank you all very much. And we are now going to have a charming lady garland. This is a mark of respect and gratitude.
People can have refreshments.